When I was 9 years old, I faked vomiting blood by chewing this red flower from my garden. And my grandmother thought that I was about to die. And as worried she was, she decided to fly me to Kathmandu for the very first time for medical checkup. Kathmandu. One peculiar thing that I remember about my first visit to Kathmandu is the smell of those CNG tempos. And like that fragrance has stayed with me till this day. 5 years later, from my first visit to Kathmandu, my grandmother, my Mua, she again flew us to Kathmandu in an extreme urgency. The civil war was at its peak, and the insurgent rebels had demanded that either me or my elder brother join the army. Left with no choice, she did the very common thing that one parent would do. She fled. The very next day, my parents, who lived in the village in Bhojpur, were abducted by the Maoist insurgents. And they remained under their control until my family could scrape enough fund to pay that small donation to support their cause. When you are left in a position like me, a young guy, with no option but to run for your life, leaving behind everything that is familiar to you, leaving behind people you dearly love in harm's way, how would you respond? A common reaction to that is you would be very hateful towards the people that has done wrong to you. You would be very vengeful. You would hold a lot of grudge. And I did the same thing. For years, I harbored that hate inside me. I built walls around me. And approximately 6 years later, in between, the insurgents had come into mainstream politics through the peace process, and I had joined law school. So I got this amazing opportunity to work at this incredible firm under a brilliant lawyer. I owe him a massive gratitude for being my mentor, for supporting me in my early career days as a legal professional. This guy changed the way I looked at things. But to my utter shock, he happened to be one of the senior leader of the very party that I hated for a long, long time. But for the first time in my life, that individual party, that individual monolith that I thought was then a prime example of evil, of terror, had a positive face. Somebody who selflessly mentored me. Somebody who instilled confidence in a young law student, saying it was possible to excel in this arena. Spending 2 years at the law firm, I came to an uncomfortable realization that maybe my ideology and identity-driven hate for a single party was unjust. Maybe the monolith that I was looking at, a singular identity of terror, was not harming that party. The hate that I had, the walls that I built, was doing nothing to that identity, but it was restricting my own progress. Ironically, I think after 6 more years, I was given an opportunity to work as a political consultant for the top-tier leadership of the very same party. I designed national level election campaign for the party, and I think over the last 8-10 years, I've closely worked with a lot of these leaders from the party and other parties as a political consultant. Why am I sharing this story to you, and why is this relevant? This is not a story about politics. It's not just a story about civil war. What it is about how we respond when somebody does us wrong, be it an individual, be it a company that you work at, be it somebody you trust very dearly. What we do, as soon as we are wronged, we build invisible walls around us. We try to prevent them from entering our lives. That is a basic human response, and that is quite normal. But what does it result to? As I said earlier, I thought that by hating individual set of people who had wronged my family and me, I was hurting them. By hating them, maybe I was making them suffer. But at the end of the day, the funny realization was it is you who was at the suffering end. It is you who was harboring that hate, that revengeful feeling. When we are wronged, usually our response is we look at things in a very emotional way. We let emotions dictate our decisions. In my decision to work at the law firm, without knowing that that particular law firm was led by one of the leaders of the party, and my decision to work for the same party as a political consultant had two differences. My first decision was, I had no choice. As a law student, you jump at an opportunity to work at a nice law firm. But my second decision was based on my rational thinking. So one thing that my boss taught me during my time at the law firm was think rationally. Emotions are important, but think rationally. So if you look back at your life, I'm sure there are incidents, if not similar to mine, but I'm sure there are incidents where you have built a wall around you based on the fact that somebody has wronged you. Think about, has it helped you or has it made you suffer? I would be lying if I tell you that over the years after I was forced to take my second flight to Kathmandu, I did not imagine the death and destruction of people that wronged me. But one singular fault that I had was I was looking at a monolith. I was looking at a system as a monolith. But then the very fact that the party had moved on without acknowledging that they did ever wrong to me was something that was not helping my cause. So today, I want to ask you that you break these walls around you. Because when we put an invisible wall around us, we restrict ourselves from entering the room. We restrict ourselves from sit at the table. And if you are truly thinking about making things right, you need to be in the room. So sometimes when we talk about systems, we talk about complex things. We talk about beings that, as said, be technical system or governance system. But at the end of the day, it might be your own very mind that is limiting your potential. So the only way forward is the choice, the power that you have is either you hold on to your past, hold grudges, build wall and restrict yourself from the outer world, or you break those walls and enter the space where you decide for your own self. Because the biggest power that we have is to make our own choices. The first choice, as I said, was compulsion, but the second was rationality. And when I talk about rationality, it does not mean in any way to suppress your emotions. It is more about thinking beyond your emotions and choosing what is right and what is the right way forward. So Kathmandu symbolically meant three things to me. For the first time, it was a dream's paradise because I had to fake vomiting blood to get there. Second time, it was a forced sanctuary because that was the only place that my grandmother could take me to, that way we could run. And third thing was, it was a space where I struggled, but ultimately conquered my mind to break these walls and work with the very same people who I thought did me wrong. Ask yourself, what is your Kathmandu? I'm sure there is one. And break these walls and step into the room, because you have that power to decide for your own self as to how you want to move forward or where you want to go. Thank you very much.